Hey, 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 gorgeous souls. Welcome to the first episode of season 4. It is great to be back, and I have got a beautiful lineup of incredible guests for you over this season. I can't quite believe that we're already on our fourth season. This has been such a joy to bring Live Your Best Life to life and to invite different people to come and share their thoughts and feelings on joy, on life richness, on things that have happened to them that have sent them on the trajectory to where they are now, and how life is such a tapestry of twists and turns, and all things joyful, all things painful, and everything in between. So, if you haven't checked out some of the other seasons yet, please do go have a listen. As I say, this season, season 4, we have got an incredible lineup of really wonderful guests who are going to bring their knowledge, their expertise, their thoughts, their feelings, their beliefs on how we get to try and live life as optimally as we can, despite everything that happens to us. And I think it's really important that we make space for these conversations because life is always going to deliver. And it is certainly, as we know, not linear. So, listening to people's lived experiences of how they have got back on track when the wheels have fallen off, and how they have tools and techniques and practices to keep them in self-love, in self-belief, in inner joy is so super helpful for us in our often far too busy lives. So have a listen, tune in for the season, and keep me posted with some of your biggest takeaways and some of your favorites. Today, it's going to be a solo episode of me, and I really want to be starting off with something that I teach anyone that comes into my world, any of my clients. This is a really, really key part of it, and it's self celebration. Now, when I say that, like, just notice your reaction to it. Are you a bit like, oh, does the bum clench kick in? Is it a bit like, oh, cringe? Like, what do you mean by self-celebration? I think it is a game changer for self-love and self-belief. And I think it's something that we just don't do enough because it's like it's kind of taken away from us as we go into adulting. Like, think back to when you were little. Think back to when you were, say, I don't know, like 5, 6, 7 years old, something like that. Or, like just that little kind of like inner child energy, right? And you would be celebrating the hell out of yourself all the time for the simplest of things. You could celebrate yourself for doing a wee, right? You could celebrate yourself for jumping in a puddle. You could celebrate yourself for eating a sandwich, like it really is pared back simplicity when we are little because everyone around us is cheerleading and championing us, right? So it's really easy to cheerlead and champion ourselves. What happens is we kind of travel out of like the childhood era of primary school and get into secondary school, and everything kind of shifts. And it's there that we learn that self celebration, celebrating ourselves for things that have helped us feel great and successful and essentially like fully ourselves. They're taught out of us because it's big headed, show offy, right? And what we do is we step back, like we step away from ourselves, we step back from our achievements, our are things that make all the ingredients of ourselves, yeah. And you know, whilst we might do it in pieces, it has to be really big for it to be worthy, right? For us to not feel showy or feel big heady or like, who am I to do this? And this continues through into adulthood. And so I really, really, really love to teach that self celebration is like it's a radical act of self love and self leadership. And much like I teach around joy about it not having to be huge, all bells and whistles, all singing, all dancing, it's the same for self celebration. Self celebration can be really quiet. It can be a really calm energy. It doesn't have to be big and bouncy and noisy. It can be a huge thing, but much like building the joy muscle, building a self celebration muscle is fundamental to us showing up as our true selves, as our full selves. We find it super difficult because of the conditioning through all the years after where it felt really easy and really simple, of probably evidence and examples where we were made to feel a bit silly or a bit small if we celebrated ourselves. So we just stopped doing it. Maybe we've got an experience in school that we remember, perhaps in our working life where celebrating ourselves and acknowledging who we are just has felt a level of wrongness. So if you're going, oh, I find that really difficult, you won't be alone, darling. You will not be alone. I think for many people, celebrating themselves is really tricky. Like as a kind of like small example of this, look at compliments, you know? Like how do you feel about receiving a compliment when somebody compliments you? Like they're celebrating something about you, they're cheerleading you. So it might be, oh, your hair looks great today. Like, how do you react to that kind of statement? Is your default, is your inner, like your natural inner voice, does it just go to, oh, I haven't washed it for ages, or I haven't done anything with it today? Is it a better way? If someone says to you, oh, that dress, that outfit looks amazing on you, is your natural response, oh, this old thing, oh, I just grabbed it out of the cupboard. Oh, I haven't even ironed it, like what's the narrative? We can bat away places where people are recognizing us and wanting to celebrate and share like love, appreciation, and just noticing what your default around there. It's just really useful information. Use it. I've talked about this before. Use it as information, not confirmation about who you are and like how these things can be tricky to change. Look at it as information. Like practice receiving compliments. Practice somebody saying something nice, kind, supportive about you, and just saying, "Thank you so much. I received that." Thank you so much. That's really kind of you to say. Because that will help you fall more into self celebration. So why is it important? Well, I've shared quite a lot around this already, but honestly, it really is about seeing your worth, allowing yourself to look at yourself in the lens of love and appreciation. So if you get comfy with self celebration, you get even comfier with loving yourself. You get even comfier with believing in yourself. You get even comfier with seeing your worthiness. So self celebration is a really powerful tool for feeling that self empowerment, that like feeling safe to be seen, feeling safe to show your full self. And yes, it absolutely can be bum clinchy. I was going to say, get my letters round the wrong way. I won't even say how it could have sounded because it sounds wrong. But it can feel really bum clenching. And when I first teach clients this, um, this is often shared. And what comes out is, well, in my house, that just would have felt wrong. That would have felt like showing off or would have felt too much. And actually we sit more in this kind of energy of like keeping small, keeping quiet, you know. But when you get used to like working with self-celebration, it actually becomes a really nourishing and like just really beautiful practice because actually there's such value in it. And I think much like when if you start like a gratitude practice, for example, it can feel really hard at first. Maybe we're really trying to find the right things to be grateful for. Like self-celebration is the same. Just keep it really simple. You can celebrate yourself for getting out of bed every day when it's been a really tough week, right? That's huge. That is massive. So it's not about, it has to be like what people would perceive as a huge achievement, right? Like a work promotion or some great thing you created. It's not about that. I celebrate myself for giving myself some time out of my day to go and take a walk in the sunshine or to chat to a friend or to just lay down because I was tired and give myself a nap, you know? It really is about looking at life in a lens of like anything can be celebrated, you know? And I think so often we feel it has to be a big, gushy, like awards standard celebration. And it's just not true. I invite my clients to celebrate the tiniest pieces, and much like we know if we are trying to build up any muscle, we're trying to, build up our muscles with some strength training. Perhaps we're trying to build up running by increasing our distances and doing split timing or hills or whatever. You can see I'm in marathon training as I record this, can't you? We're building that muscle. And what happens is it gets to feel easier. So if we have a ritual of self celebration, what happens is we get comfier with it. It feels less awkward. It starts to feel like a good fit. And what happens then, because we're building this muscle, because it's getting comfier and cozier, like we just do it more easily. So what I would love you to do, we're going to do like a little self celebration activation. And I would love you to just, if it feels good and safe to do so, just let your eyelids really gently float close. And let's take a collective breath in through our noses and exhaling. Again, breath in and exhaling. Breath in and exhaling. And I invite you just to drop into your heart space, maybe put a hand, two hands on your heart space, and just tune into something that you can celebrate about yourself right here, right now, in this moment. Don't overthink it. Like whatever pops in as the first thing, just trust. That's the right first thing, and that's exactly as it should be. And notice your energy in this act of self-celebration. Like, notice how you feel. Are you sitting differently? Have you got a smile on your face? Are you like sitting a bit taller, a bit broader, a bit more here? Like, do you feel a fizziness in your body? just notice how it feels. Take another big breath out, and just like feel that energy. I tuned into like just this morning, I met a friend for a walk on the seafront. I live right by the sea. Yesterday, it was beautiful sunshine. Today, it's like all fog and mist, completely different energy of weather, right? But it doesn't make the seafront not deliver, like looking out at the birds and the landscape and just feeding off that energy. And yeah, had to wrap up and be more cozy, but like the nourishing conversation, the time out my business. Like it's an act of self-celebration for sure. Got a busy week, got lots to do. My head is feeling full. And what we can do is we can avoid the things that are going to really light us up and like help our soul feel uplifted. So taking that hour and a half, probably almost 2 hours out, can feel like a mismatch. So I am really celebrating myself for taking that time, taking that space, even when it felt a bit challenging because I've got a lot to do, because I know being by the sea, being by a friend that I love to pieces, and having like rich, raw, honest, heartfelt conversations were gonna really be exactly what I needed in that moment. So feeling into that as an act of celebration, like it adds a win to my week, right? And I think it's so important for us to find these little wins. Where are the places, where are the spaces that we are doing things which are supporting us, supporting our nervous system, supporting our emotional well-being, and helping us feel like, hello, I'm home, I'm here, I'm being myself. As I say, self-celebration, like anything, you've got to practice, practice, practice. And it can feel challenging to start any of these practices where we want to be consciously in our joy. I talk about conscious joy a lot. Conscious joy is about that being right here, right now, not forward thinking, not going over, about being right here, right now, in this moment. And there are many different practices, many different tools and techniques that we can use to help us feel consciously in our joy, consciously in the everyday, consciously in the right here, right now. Okay. Not an easy practice, but it's absolutely possible. And it's something that if we like choose it, if we decide it, then like we can open the doorway to conscious joy, self-celebration, being in the moment. If this is something that you would love to dive deeper on, but you find it a challenge, you find it really stretchy. Like I say, you're not alone, darling. You are not alone. But if it's something you would love to explore further, and so you have in ground rituals for self-soothing, self-love, self-belief, self-celebration, for you to like feel more and more like yourself every day, so you can start shifting those layers, so you can start shedding, then I really encourage you to check out the Conscious Joy Accelerator. It's in the show notes. It is my one-to-one offering where we go deep on what is getting in the way of you showing up in life how you desire. We all know how it is we want to be in the world, right? We know essentially, even when we feel like we're in the don't know phase, we really do. However, it can feel a million miles away, right? So, like being held, being guided, have someone holding your hand whilst you learn to embody how it is you want to feel and who you get to be and how you get to be consciously in your joy is like such a perfect way for you to then embody, embed. So these things just become second nature. So something like self-celebration and consciously being right here, right now, in your joy, and noticing like that there is joy all around you. It just becomes your default. And essentially, it's about you coming back to who you were when you started. Again, the kids analogy, look at kids, look at toddlers, right? Their default is to be in their joy. And then what happens is we lose that as we travel through life. So this is, it's a remembering, it's not having to find another you, it's a remembering, it's a relearning, it's a reconnecting. So you can come home to yourself and be that little person who, like, joy was their life force, joy was their default, joy was how they showed up in the world. So if you'd love to find out more, check it out in the show notes and we can hop on a possibility call and see if it's a great fit for where you're at right here, right now. So, gorgeous souls, it has been an absolute delight to kick off season 4 with this juicy episode on self celebration. I hope you've had some really brilliant light bulb moments and some fantastic takeaways. If so, please do drop me a DM on Insta at Googe Official and just share. As you know, I love a chat and I love to hear the shifts that people experience when tuning into this podcast and listening to either my episodes or the guest episodes. To finish, I would love you to just think, what's one thing that I get to celebrate about myself today? And can I make self celebration a non negotiable for the next 7 days? Just one act of self celebration for the next 7 days. And then, like, just notice how I feel, notice how I move around my day, notice how life looks just that little bit richer. Notice what I notice. Okay. So I would love to hear how you get on. So please do drop me a message, my lovelies. Until the next episode, take care of yourselves. Keep finding those little pockets of joy and sending you all the love, my darlings.